Welcome to Epilogue Podcast, the show where we discuss some stuff that happened on a different show ages ago which nobody really cares about anymore.
Hello, I'm Portponky.
And I'm LeBloc.
Today we're discussing Deep Space Nine, Season 6, Episode 16, Change of Heart. Worf must choose between completing a valuable mission or saving Dax's life.
Although I don't understand why he couldn't have done both.
Well, presumably if he left Dax alone, she would have died, and he knew that because he's a medical Klingon expert. I don't know.
Well, I don't understand why she was tagging along with him. He would have to double back to the runabout, so he would meet up with her. All that moving around was worsening her wound. She could have just stayed somewhere. They took out those scouts, and that made that a hot area, but just go a little bit forward and then stop. She didn't have to keep going and going with Worf.
I don't know. He should have taken her back to the runabout immediately. I feel like he could have done this mission by himself in short time.
That would have made more sense too.
Well, okay. We're just bickering about minute details. In one episode they say, oh yeah, Klingons are physically superior, and then here it doesn't come into play, but I think that's probably missing the point a little.
All right, so overall, what do you think here?
I thought it was an okay episode. It was entertaining.
Okay is the best word for this episode.
I'd say it was better than mediocre.
I'll go with that.
I didn't feel it had the right sort of zest to propel it into good watching. If I was doing a leisurely rewatch, I would probably skip this one.
What would elevate it for you? Or what fell short in the episode for you?
Kind of just wasn't that compelling. Dax was injured, and there was a lot of warmth between Dax and Worf. Their relationship felt very well fleshed out, better than it has before, I would say. But they're trying to pick up some rando we've never seen before. And it's kind of, the deck is so stacked that it's hard to really be invested.
There was a lot of warmth and sweetness between Dax and Worf in this episode. I liked all of that stuff.
Yeah, they're a lovely couple.
They're banned from going off on missions alone ever again, but they should have never been assigned to each other ever once they were married.
Yes, makes no sense. They have no concept of what a conflict of interest is.
Sure, go on a mission with your spouse. I'm sure that'll be fine.
Sisko even says he would have done the same thing, and I'm sure many people would do the same thing to save their loved ones, no matter the consequences. So how can he blame Worf? It was Starfleet's stupid fault for sending people with ulterior interests out on a mission.
Does he really blame Worf? I took it as, I have to do this because Starfleet expects this.
Well, Starfleet blamed Worf, although through clenched teeth, as it was an undercover operation. It's just silly to blame someone for acting in the way people act.
Yeah.
You put them into a situation where they're compelled to act one way, you can't then turn around and say, well, what are you doing?
Almost everyone would have made this decision, and then you did, but we're still going to be mad at you. And remove your chances of furthering your career.
Yeah, that's harsh. I put the blame squarely on Starfleet for this.
Maybe it's Worf's fault. He didn't submit the paperwork to show that he's married, so they didn't know.
Wasn't it Kira that gave them the orders?
Well, she relayed the mission. I don't know if
She
that
briefed them.
Yeah, she briefed them.
I don't know who was in charge. Maybe this is the problem. They just selected two people at random.
This is the inciting incident where Starfleet stops using a roulette to assign people to missions.
Or a Tongo wheel.
Ah, nice segue.
Thanks. Confront.
Evade.
Oh no. The B-plot in this episode is quite clever because it finishes halfway through the episode.
I didn't realize that until you said that.
Ah, yeah, that's why I said it's clever. You can't have a light-hearted comedy B-plot whilst in the A-plot someone is dying.
That, yeah, especially a main character.
Whereas the first half of the A-plot is quite light-hearted and funny because it's to play contrast to the second half. So, yeah, the B-plot ends about halfway through the episode.
That's really elegant. Because I never felt disturbance in the tone. It works really well. Flows nicely.
I think in the production notes on the wiki, it says that they'd learned their lesson from mishmashing in Jake Nog B-plots into quite serious episodes earlier on.
Yeah,
so this
that does
time
not work.
they played it a bit more carefully. And it pays off because the B-plot would have been very annoying. It would have completely defused the second half of the episode.
It would have been awful because you'd have that ugly parallel. So Quark would be using Dax or the thought of Dax to manipulate Bashir while Dax is dying. It would be nasty. It would not. He wouldn't be aware that she's dying, but to see both of those at the same time would not be good.
It would have been a hot mess, and it's good they avoided it.
I totally forgot that Bashir had a thing for Dax.
He did quite a while back. I think season 3 is the last time it was mentioned.
It's been a while.
Season 4, the episode Starship Down, when Bashir and Dax get shot in part of the Defiant when it's in the gas giant. I think that's when he comes to terms with the fact that he's never going to be her BFF. But apparently he just bottled it up because here he's pining for her again.
Yeah, Quark reopens those wounds and shoves salt in them.
And Knar.
And self-sealing stem bolts.
Oh, right in the wound. Hey, talking of wounds, Dax had a wound from the Jem'Hadar zip-zap gun.
Yes.
And it had the anticoagulant thing.
Yes.
So the wound would not heal. She is far from the first person to get hit by this. Don't they have any solution for it?
They keep forgetting to pack it in the bag.
Oh, Jesus. It feels that way.
Well, they've updated the medkit bags, but they are forced to use all the old ones first before they can move on to the new ones. And the old ones don't have the anticoagulants.
Anticoagulant?
Yes.
But don't they just have something like super glue?
I hope so.
Just glue the wound shut. I'm not a doctor, but I think that's how it works.
I'll keep that in mind next time I'm shot by Jamhadar weaponry.
Why were those guys out patrolling in the middle of nowhere?
Looking for crops.
For crops?
I don't know. We have no reason to believe that's an area of interest. Why would they be there?
I could understand if it was near their base, but it was so far away. Yeah, it was within their sensor range anyway.
The whole point of that rendezvous was that it was out of the way, wasn't it? Why why pick a place that they're patrolling?
I think this is why I didn't get invested in the mission they were on. It's portrayed as overly serious. They keep mentioning, oh, bazillions will die if you get this wrong. It's the worst ever. You must get it right. So, I don't know. Whenever it's like that, you think, oh, okay, they're going to mess it up then. Or worse, they're going to succeed, and then they're going to pat each other on the back.
So you're saying damned if they do, damned if they don't?
Pretty much. They're putting the characters in ridiculous situations where the fate of the galaxy rests upon them. So they're going to either succeed and it's going to fall flat because that's silly, or they're going to fail and it's going to fall a bit flat because anyone would fail. It's like defusing the bomb with 1 second left. It's not impressive, it's just silly.
Maybe this would work better if we didn't know it was important right away. If they went in thinking this was a run of the mill kind of thing, and then it escalates and they find out that this is more important than they realized.
That could have helped.
It would help with the bad choices they made along the way. You could excuse those more easily, saying, well, this is a simple mission, who cares? Although that's a terrible attitude to have.
It's the attitude of a Starfleet officer. I think I would have liked it if it was a simple mission that escalated out of control. Because then you'd be a bit more invested. They just sent in a couple of guys in a runabout, not expecting a really serious time. And then it gets serious and problems arise and difficult choices are made and the outcomes might not be the best for everyone.
I really enjoyed O'Brien's little speech about how he invites challenge because it explains why Honor Among Thieves isn't very good.
It does?
He wants the challenge, and that episode wasn't a challenge for him.
Well, yeah, that's what we said, though. He's faced up to much greater odds, so. I like that he pointed out that's why he became an engineer.
And it makes total sense that that drives him when you think about what he does all the time and when he thrives.
He should be a problem solver if he's an engineer. That's kind of what that is. And he's perceived Quark's winning streak as a problem and he wants to solve it.
One of my favorite details in that plot line is the suitcase, how he turns to the side so they don't see it's mostly empty.
They only had 6 strips.
It's really good because they see the suitcase, all right, they're willing to play with the big boys, but there's not much in there.
For all that they were careful turning the suitcase away to hide their latinum, they did something that really frustrated me later on.
Which is?
Quark goes to get a drink for Bashir.
Oh, and he has clear view of his cards?
Yeah, he can see his cards. Bashir doesn't hide
silly.
them.
Unless that somehow doesn't matter?
No, because in games where the cards don't matter, you don't hold them up.
There was another similar tango scene where Dax and Quark were playing, and they were side by side. They could easily see each other's cards. That bothered me too. Stop presenting situations where they can look at the cards.
Well, if they're side by side like poker players, it's not too bad. But here, Quark is standing right next to him. Behind him.
Clear view. Maybe that was his plan.
That's how he wins. Draws the game out really long and then goes and fetches people a drink. That's why he always sits in the chair opposite, or facing the bar at the opposite end of the table.
And if anyone complains, he could say, well, I need to have full view of the bar. This is my bar. I have to serve people. We figured it out.
Yeah. Although that doesn't make that much sense. I think it was after hours.
Still, gotta keep sharp.
Something maybe happened in this episode that I've been waiting for a long time, and I know you have been eager for it as well.
I don't know where you're going with this.
I'm going straight to the ears, specifically Worf's ears.
Wait, they showed ears in this? Worf's ears?
I don't know, but that sexy bedroom scene at the start where he had his hair loose, there's a couple of times I swear I could see the faintest hint of an earlobe. I watched it in slow motion because I am intent on finding Worf's ears.
He doesn't have ears.
He must have them. He could hear very clearly how far away the animals in the jungle were.
He's sensitive to the vibrations of sound waves.
That's what ears do.
That's what his forehead does.
Well, then his forehead is an ear.
Okay.
No, not okay.
He doesn't have traditional humanoid ears.
Klingons do. There's been a bald Klingon and he had ears.
Genetic anomaly.
That's actually hard to disagree with because there's big plot lines about genetic stuff.
We've seen already that they went through vast changes.
Yeah, but your ears don't shift from the side of your head to a ridge on your forehead.
That's what happened with the Klingons.
Well, go back and watch that bedroom scene. See if you can see those ears. I'm almost willing to put up a bounty for any shot of Worf's ears. So if any of our dear readers know where Worf's ears are in this show or Next Gen, or any other place he appears, please let us know.
Wanted dead or alive.
Doesn't have to be both ears, just one will do.
It has to be a clear shot, though. I won't take a hint of an ear where you could dismiss it as some kind of protrusion.
Oh, well, that's about all you get in this one, but watch it again. Come to your own conclusions.
Okay.
Something I dearly liked about this episode.
Is it when Worf reacts negatively to Risa?
Two things I dearly liked about this episode. One is the Risa thing. The other was the scene with the heartbeat.
I was confused during that scene.
I just thought back to his wedding when they spent all that time talking about Klingon hearts beating together.
It is a nice touch that they bring it back to that and then he talks about it. It helps convince the viewer why he made this choice. He's obsessed with playing the role of a traditional Klingon, and that stuff would be knocking around in his head constantly. And then here's this story that he's heard all his life and he's living it out.
It was a nice callback to the wedding. It totally fits, you're right, with how Worf is. I like that they did a subtle callback. I'm sure plenty of people wouldn't remember exactly what was said at the wedding about heartbeats and all that. But if you did, it's a nice little foreshadow. And they explain it later, which I'm fine with because it's too obscure to leave hanging and expect people to get it.
It's a quick explanation too.
Yeah, they don't labor over it.
And it's organic how it's brought up. He's asked to explain what the heck happened, and he can't expect Cisco to be super familiar with Klingon lore.
It doesn't need to be. I don't know why they even asked him. What? Why didn't you let your wife die? Well,
Answer me.
why do you think? You idiot.
Because I didn't want my wife to die.
Yes, obviously.
Oh.
I actually love my wife, so I want her to remain alive. But what about the millions of people that you don't know about or care about? Yes, none of them are my wife.
0% of them are my wife.
But 100% of my wife is my wife.
I was gonna go with that line.
At the end, when Dex awakens and is a little disturbed by the outcome, the framing was nice, right close up on the faces. The point being that Worf doesn't care about the consequences. He doesn't care about anything. Not even the room he's in.
Nope, all he cares about is right there, filling the frame.
So that kind of let the viewer strip away all the unneeded stuff and focus in on these two characters who fancy each other's pants.
His dialogue there is so smooth.
Dax is quite a smooth talker anyway, so he has to keep up. Plus, he's got to break the news to his wife that he'd maybe got quite a lot of people killed to save her. Not everyone's going to be okay with that. So, what's the quote o'clock news?
Doctor, you don't expect me to show you all my cards, do you?
Treating relationships like games. That's
Sounds
terrible.
like Quark.
Quark, yeah. That's kind of also what Bashir does, though.
Why do you say that?
Because he's a bit awkward and overly analytical. I think everyone does that to a degree.
All the world's a holosuite.
I mean, everyone is tactical in how they deal with relationships. Maybe that's cynical. No, that is cynical. I retract everything I've said.
Yeah, it's pretty cynical.
So why did you choose this quote?
I like when Quark succeeds by being a terrible person and manipulating people. It's entertaining.
It wouldn't be like him to succeed out of the kindness of his heart. And
No, but I like
luck
that
and-
too.
Well, he's kind of an antagonistic character, so it's fitting when he's smug about antagonizing people.
He's so confident that he lets Bashir know, yeah, I am toying with you, because he's talking about it as cards. I'm not going to show you all my cards. I'll show you the simple ones. But I'm operating at such a high level that I can let you know that I am playing with cards and I am doing things to you, but it doesn't matter because I still win.
The path to a Ferengi's heart is through his wallet? I don't know. I guess it's just Bashir getting his comeuppance. He took on Quark at his own game and lost. And I don't mean Tongo.
The game of life.
The game of games. He should have stuck to his sexy James Bond adventures.
The B plot is a nice mix of the Bashir we knew before the reveal that he's an augment and then after, because it plays into his arrogance and thinking he could do anything, and then also his enhanced mind that could calculate odds and whatnot. So you get the mixture here.
It's slightly rounding. I kind of wish they'd left the pining for Dex storyline to rest, instead of digging it up and brandishing it once more.
It feels weird to bring it up again.
It feels weird not to watch the next episode.
Let's fix that, right? Well, after this episode.
Okay, I will do that.